and welcome to Tome of Uselessness. I'm Devin.
I'm Dan.
And today we're going to talk about the Halloween movies. Yay!
Whee!
Whee! Before we get into what we like, I just wanted to say that we have a huge spike in downloads. And so to everybody who's new, welcome. Thank you for listening to us. Very cool of you.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool, and I'm hoping that people are enjoying the show.
Me too. And if you have something you would like us to cover, you can email us at tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you if you're like, oh my gosh, you two absolutely have to watch
X.
Romeo and Juliet. We want to know. So please email us, and thank you for listening, and we think you're very cool.
And as we always joke, we're all useless.
Yes, we're very useless. Dan, do you like anything?
Yeah, I have a list of a few things because, like I mentioned in my little Dune rant, that we haven't recorded in a while, so I got a few things.
Okay.
A couple books here. I'll start with Salvation Lost, which was a sequel to Salvation. And it's written by Peter F. Hamilton, and I guess it's going to be a trilogy, I assume. The next one's not out yet. It's pretty cool stuff. It's interesting because this isn't one of those situations where, like, I read this book, I discovered it on, like, the library app, and then I was like, wow, that was really good. Read the sequel. And then it turns out this guy's had a prolific career and has written a ton of stuff, and I just don't know. So I was like, oh, I guess maybe I should check out some of his other stuff. But I really enjoyed these two, Salvation and Salvation Lost. They kind of they're written in like multiple timelines, and like each affects the other in a way, and it is dealing with space stuff in kind of a pretty realistic way, where basically like the basis of it is that a guy develops like wormhole technology essentially, and then that collapses the world's oil economy because travel becomes instant and you don't need that kind of stuff. And humans explore space by sending out robots, which we do now, but they send out robots that go to somewhere and then build a wormhole, and then they send everything through that to then further on the expansion and stuff like that and get resources.
Oh, cool. And,
yeah, it's pretty cool. And like the main tech is that we basically can use these portals to harness the power of the sun. So it's like unlimited energy. Anyway, yeah, and then they encounter an alien race and etc. So highly recommend. Good series so far, just the two of them. That was Salvation by Peter F. Hamilton is his name. And the next one I just finished up as well was The Human Division, which was book 5, I believe, out of 6 of the Old Man War series. And that's also a space epic one. Again, I discovered on the library app because I just typed in space opera and it came up and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. And
cool.
Yeah, this one's where they basically, the soldiers are humans from Earth that are taken in their later stages of life, and they like to use them because those people would have empathy for humanity because they've lived a life, and they would also have all these skills. And then they put them into a clone body that's young and genetically engineered, and then they're soldiers out in space.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, actually, it's a really enjoyable series. It involves, compared to the other one, this one involves like hundreds of alien species, and there's politics and space opera.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm currently in the middle of reading the 6th one. I watched Archer Danger Island, trying to catch up on Archer, which I think was season 9.
Oh, you know what? I stopped watching it midway through the season where they're in the 40s, I think.
Yeah, Dreamland?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dreamland wasn't my most favorite for sure. It's like I've mentioned before, like Archer is still high quality television, but it's dipped in quality compared to itself.
Yeah.
So it's just like you watch it and you're like, well, this isn't as good as it used to be, but it's still comparatively, it's still good quality TV.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I really actually enjoyed Danger Island. I thought it was a good, refreshing, kind of fun setting and just, situations and stuff like that. So
is the premise now that, like, Archer's still in a coma?
So as far as I'm aware, Dreamland, Danger Island, and then Space 1999, which is the next season, like it's a sci-fi one, which I'm in the middle of that. Those 3 he is in a coma, but now I think in the newest season he's out of the coma.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And I think they're taking it back to there being spies. Back when we made the show.
Okay.
And then, you ever heard of the Corridor Crew?
No.
It's a YouTube channel, and they do like VFX and stunt work stuff, and they do a series of videos called like Stunt People React or Animators React.
Yeah, I didn't know that's what that channel was called, but I've been watching a bunch of those videos too.
Yeah, they're pretty great. And in a recent one, they did a stuntman one, and he mentioned this movie called Extraction with Christopher Hemsworth.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Yeah, that was a good episode, and I really liked that story about the director of Extraction, so I watched Extraction.
Yeah. Oh, cool. How was it?
It was really good. It was very competent, good action movie, and good stunt work, and there was some wonky CG, and that's because I assume that's probably budgetary, but the pacing and the story was good, and because it wasn't just one of those kind of like nonstop. It was smart, kind of like a John Wick, I guess. There was pauses, right? Like where it's like, oh my God, we just watched like this 20-minute action sequence and it was intense and they managed to get away, and then there's a small quiet moment and then something happens, right? But it was good.
Oh, cool.
And I just thought that was really cool, the director's story about how he was Chris Evans' double, and then he worked with the Russos and they liked him, and then he became like second unit director, and then they were like, hey, can you go direct this movie because we'll produce it but we don't have the time, you go to direct it, please.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, so it was good, and I enjoyed the watch of that, and it was kind of cool to see Christopher Hemsworth in a different role. I mean, his character was like, broken down, drunk-esque kind of guy. I lost my wife and kid kind of. But like character we've seen before, but it was still pretty cool and good stunt work.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the last one, I guess, like I mentioned it in the Dune talk, I watched Jodorowsky's Dune, which I had not seen, of course, before, and it was pretty interesting just to learn about. Sometimes like movies don't get made, right? Like you always hear those stories, kind of like Neil Blomkamp and that recent Alien that they were going to do, where they worked for 2 years on the movie. They had the rights, they had everything all figured out. And what kind of shocked me, I didn't realize, was it was going to be made in.
Whoa.
So, yeah, before Star Wars. And so they were talking to some of the people that are like, the effects he wanted to do were like before Star Wars would have been Star Wars-esque, almost kind of like it would have maybe changed some of the directions of some things, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because like famously, George Lucas had to create ILM to make special effects for Star Wars, right? That's basically kind of what they were almost going to do. And spoilers, they didn't make the movie, but they had like a volume, like this big giant book, and they sent it to all of the movie studios, and it had all the storyboards, all of the effects and like the art and everything, and because they were like, here's the movie, because they were basically they were like, we know this is weird and it's a risk, so we want to like lay it out that we're like, we thought it all out. It's not, we're making this up as we go.
Yeah.
And every studio was like, this is amazing, but we don't trust the director because this is Jodorowsky, of course, who made like El Topo, and I think it's like Heavenly Gate at the Mountain or whatever. He's like weird artsy guy from the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And so they were like, we just don't trust that it, because they wanted to make it they need $15 million, which is about $100 million in our current currency.
Yeah.
And they were basically like said no.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. But like they kind of show like all of the people that worked on that movie went on to then do other projects where like those ideas and that art, like notably, of course, H.I. Giger was brought in to work on Dune.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then like a ton of his ideas and art got transported to Alien, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So yeah, it was a pretty cool watch. It was about like an hour and a half, and it was just kind of this neat documentary about a movie that never happened. What I liked about it was because in the beginning, Jodorowsky's talking like high, lofty art stuff where he's like, movies can, are changing and you're blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, but you got to put it on screen still. Like clearly he had pie in the sky ideas. But then as it goes on, like he himself gets more kind of savvy and he's like more realistic about it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like he knew what he was doing. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was some of the stuff I liked. Sorry, long list.
Yeah, no worries. My list is shorter.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, what do you got?
Okay, so the final season of Schitt's Creek was on Netflix, so I watched it.
Nice.
It's a really good, heartfelt show, and I always thought it looked really stupid, but when you actually watch it, there's a lot of like laugh out loud moments, and I don't know, it's just a good show.
Yeah, that's 6 seasons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've heard nothing but amazing about that show.
You know, the clip that they show on Netflix as their preview is not very representative of the show. It makes it look like a really dumb show. But it's funny and it's so heartfelt. Like I spent most of season 6 crying and then laughing.
Sorry, I was going to say real caveat note. Are you telling me that a trailer was misleading?
You know what? It's not misleading. It's just not a good clip.
Right.
But then again, like you need to watch like 2 episodes to really kind of feel it, you know?
Cool.
Yeah.
How many episodes in like each season?
What's that?
Sorry, how many like episodes? Like a 10, 12, 8?
I think they're like maybe 12, maybe 10. I can't remember. It went by fast. I watched most of it in the same sitting.
Fair enough.
They're short too. They're like less than half an hour.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things about watching like a 24-minute show. Like, because one of the shows that I watched as well, it was like, yeah, like Archer, it's 20 minutes and you just like burns right through it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Schitt's Creek. Sit down and watch an hour worth of it. And if you don't like it, you're not going to like it.
Right. Does it really start quite strong and then like, maintain, or does it like take like a little bit for it to get peak?
No, I'd say like by midway in the first season, if you'll be hooked.
Right.
They're interesting characters. Catherine O'Hara is so funny in it. She puts on this like bizarre, because she's like, so I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they're a super rich family that loses all their money. But then it turns out that they had bought a town called Schitt's Creek as a joke. And they end up living in the motel in the town because they own the town.
Oh, okay.
And they have no money.
Right.
So Catherine O'Hara is the mom. She's the mom from she's been in lots of stuff, but she's the mom from Home Alone.
Yeah, I mean, I assume everyone knows who Catherine O'Hara is, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Eugene Levy is the dad. Dan Levy is the son, and him and Eugene wrote it together.
Oh yeah, cool.
And I can't remember the name of the actress that plays the sister, but she's hilarious in it. But like there are all these kind of weird, eccentric, rich people who don't understand how poor people live. So it's kind of like a fish out of water type comedy.
Yeah.
But it has just so much heart that like you just really end up caring about these characters. And not to spoil anything, but like Dan Levy's character is like pansexual, and he ends up in a relationship with a man, and it's probably like the best gay relationship representation I've ever seen, because they are like people who are in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not played like lol gay, right? Like, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really good. I really liked it. I would highly, highly recommend it. It's great.
Cool.
The next thing on my list is that I went to Value Village and I bought a bunch of Harlequin romance novels that were like they were like $1.50 each. So I've been reading those.
Nice.
They're so funny. The one I'm currently reading is about somebody who's getting married, but she's only getting married to him because she had a shitty childhood. And then his cousin shows up and tries to seduce her. So that's fun. There's like a few red flag consent moments, but you know, overall it's pretty fun. Speaking of red flag consent moments, I listened to a podcast that's about, I think it's like 10 episodes long, and it's about Cosby.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's a little heavy, but it's well researched. They talk to a lot of the victims, and they kind of give you a timeline for how everything has progressed.
Yeah. So
if you're like interested in like going a little deeper than a headline, it's pretty good.
Sure. What was the name?
I think it was just Cosby, but let me just double check. Oh, Chasing Cosby.
So it's done though. It's like they told their.
It's done, yeah.
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 Cool.
Yeah, over and done. And then I started listening to the new podcast Maintenance Phase, which is Michael Hobbs from You're Wrong About.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody else that I can't remember her name. But it's all about, like, diet, health, and wellness myths.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. They just have one episode out so far, but it's pretty good.
Cool.
So, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about was She-Ra, but we're going to do an episode where I focus on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So all I'm going to say is that I recommend it, and it's a very good show.
Cool.
Yeah. That's
Nice.
it.
Very good. Very good.
So I guess now we'll talk about Halloween-y movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure kind of what your thoughts were on this, and every time we kind of do a horror, I always do the caveat that, like, horror is not my genre. I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I watch some, but not a lot of them. And so I always feel like, not out of my depth, but I'm just like, I don't know. But then turns out I've seen more than I think, but maybe just because it's a specific type of horror that I like.
Yeah, so what I wanted to focus on, like, I mean, you can talk about whatever you want, but what I was focusing on was kind of not really like children's Halloween movies and not really like horror that will give you nightmares, but kind of that in between where it's like comedy horror, I guess.
Well, yeah, I was looking up some lists as well, and I kind of compiled a list, and it's like there is a good list of horror comedies, but then there's also like they're not very scary, or at least maybe not scary to me type movies, but they are classified as like a horror or a Halloween type movie, let's say.
Oh yeah, like Nightmare on Elm Street kind of stuff.
Well, I think that's a horror movie.
Oh.
I mean, he's going around killing you in your dreams.
Yeah, well, like I was thinking, like, I guess I consider anything that's not like gratuitous gore or gratuitous torture, like Hostel.
Yeah.
And Saw.
Yeah.
Like those are off the table for me because I don't really just want to watch people in pain.
Right. But that's what's so interesting about the first Saw movie. It's really good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it's not torture porny that the series became.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't like that kind.
Yeah.
I don't like movies that, I don't know, I've not seen any of the, like, Insidious or Conjuring.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they take themselves a bit too seriously, and I prefer stuff that's a little bit sillier.
Yeah, well, when we did that one episode where we talked about our top favorite horror movies, a few of yours were more, like you said, in the camp or the horror comedy genre.
Yeah, totally. Like, that's just what I prefer. Like, I don't know. I don't really want to see people in pain, and I don't really want to see meanness for the sake of meanness.
Right. Well, and that's why some of my favorite are like The Thing and Alien. It's like there's like this weird threat and people are trying to figure it out, but the horror is like the tension, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But yeah, I have a list of stuff. Like I said, there's some horror comedy and then there's some other fun stuff on the list. But I think this is a kind of interesting topic because looking at horror comedy especially, it seems like it's such like a fine line to make a well-crafted horror comedy movie.
Definitely. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I can't remember what it was called. But what was that Christmas horror we watched that they kind of did like Home Alone gags, but in a horror setting?
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it. It was like something like Christmas Eve or whatever, about that kid who was like psycho or whatever, right?
Yeah, I feel like that movie should have been great and really, really missed the mark because they just made it about the kid being terrible.
Yeah.
And they didn't really go enough in the direction that it was like going to give you nightmares because you kind of saw it from the kid's point of view.
Yeah. Like I think I said when we did our discussion, it was like either have the twist be that then they get attacked after his like horror shenanigans, or then unfortunately you have to have that kid have his comeuppance.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really just missed the mark on that. Where like when you compare that to The Babysitter, which has a very similar idea where there's a kid that's being babysat and horror happens, The Babysitter is like this hilarious like romp with interesting kill scenes and interesting characters, but it's not mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and you really enjoyed that, and then you were saying there's a sequel, right?
Oh yeah, so both The Babysitter and The Babysitter 2 are on my list.
Nice.
But I don't know. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5 movies on my list.
I think I have like 14 horror comedies alone, and then a whole bunch of other ones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably have seen a lot of these as well. Like, as I was just writing down, I was like, oh yeah, I have seen that. I have seen that. That one's good. That one's good. And there's some on here like Ghostbusters. I mean, that's old school classic, not really horror, right? It's just more fun because it's got about ghosts, right?
I just consider that a family fun movie.
Sure. And that's kind of like more in the horror comedy genre, but it's like, it's not really scary, really.
Well, since you have more, do you want to start with something on your list, and then we can go back and forth?
Sure. Well, I mean, let's see. Like I said, I'll stick to the horror comedies since we're talking a bit about them. And the old school Young Frankenstein.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, that's from Mel Brooks, of course, back in like 75, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing, and it's just a alternate telling, and it's a horror comedy.
Yeah, no, that's a great movie.
Yeah, lots of fun. Quite like, it's just so well crafted in the Mel Brooks comedy style, where there's like every type of gag and there's jokes, and just it all works. And of course, I'm sure I haven't seen it in a few years, but like some of the jokes may be dated, of course, but they're still hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like with Mel Brooks comedies, there are some dated jokes, but none of them are, how do I say this?
Well, I was about to say they're like not mean-spirited usually.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. They're not mean-spirited. They don't come, like a lot of people are like, you couldn't make Blazing Saddles today. And like, yeah, but also it's not a mean-spirited movie. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I really liked Lindsay Ellis did a great breakdown about that kind of thing, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did one basically kind of focusing on that because people always use Mel Brooks as like a defense because he was a Jewish guy making Hitler jokes and etc. But it's like, yeah, but there was like an art to it.
Yeah, and he's never punching down.
Yes, that's always it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, young Frankenstein, super good stuff. Gene Wilder, of course, was in there.
Gene Wilder's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will take your Young Frankenstein and I will raise you a Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Which, if you're not familiar, it's starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and it is, also the lady that plays Hilda, Lucy Davis, in the Netflix Sabrina's in it.
Nice.
And it's about zombies.
Yeah.
And going to the pub.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about, where it's like there's that line because these movies are so well crafted, right?
Yeah. It has the right amount of like heart, comedy, and suspense.
Well, and he uses the zombies because the zombies are always like a backdrop for the human drama. And in this case, he uses that very effectively to be like, it's a relationship story about, your mom and your girlfriend, etc. And they're zombies.
I think the tagline was rom-com with bomb.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely really great. And just, all of the, just like the filmmaking techniques and the jokes and everything. I was really late to Shaun of the Dead. I didn't see it in theater or anything. I think I had to, a few years later, someone was like, you haven't seen Shaun of the Dead? We're watching it.
I watched Shaun of the Dead the night before we had to send the printout.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like right after I got hired, like a couple months after I got hired, and I didn't go see it because I'm like, I don't like horror. And I think Sean convinced me to see it, actually, like not
Probably.
Shaun of the Dead, but
Yeah.
Shaun the guy that we do, our friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was so impressed because I'd never seen anything like it before. This was back in 2004, the before times.
Yes. No, it's a quality movie, and that quote unquote apocalypse trilogy are all great and worth the watch.
Oh, totally. Plus, it had one of the best, like, because you know how I harp on, like, fight scenes with music?
Yes.
It has a great scene that I think inspires a lot of those fight scenes with music, where it's diegetic to the movie because they hit a jukebox and it starts playing Queen Don't Stop Me Now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And they're hitting a zombie with pool cues, and it's all in time, and it's so great.
Yeah. Well, and just even again, just talking about like the craft, because I can't remember the gag, but it's like, I'm gonna go check this thing, and he like opens like a blind and it's just pure zombies, and he's just like closes it immediately, and he's like, nope. Kind of thing, right?
It also has some of the coolest filmmaking. It has some of the coolest like transition scenes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like him like pouring a beer becomes an interesting shot to look at.
Yeah. No, his transitions and like that's what I was saying, like his editing and filmmaking is like super high level.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
A horror comedy.
Yeah, it's just a great film that happens to have zombies.
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
Again, we can stick a little recent and talking about some zombies. There was Zombieland.
Oh, the first one, right?
Yes, I did not see the sequel or the pilot episode of the Amazon show they did either.
I didn't know they did an Amazon show, but the sequel was a trash fire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say that for definitive, but I did not hear it was good.
I watched it. It was a trash fire.
Whereas the original Zombieland's a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun. It had some cool stuff that hadn't really been done, like with the rules when they bring them up.
Yeah.
And I think also it was interesting because the cast was so small.
Yeah. You had Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Little Miss Sunshine, and Emma Stone.
Yeah.
And
Abigail something, right?
Or is it? Yeah, it's like Abigail Wrestler, or it doesn't start with a W. I can't remember.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
But yeah, they're just trying to go from point A to point B, and there are zombies, and they encounter comedic situations, and like Devin was saying, the rules was definitely something that you're like, it's like codified, but people always thought that in the back of their heads. You're like, yeah, you'd have to, do something to try to survive. And so he's like, do some warm ups, and they show people running, right, like and stuff. And of course, because I don't know, they originally did write it as a TV show.
Oh.
And that's why there was like that zombie kill of the weeks gag. Like there was going to be all sorts of that kind of stuff in it. But then they were like, okay, no, make a movie instead. So they made the movie. It was popular. Then they tried to make it a TV show. That got dumpstered on. and then it got nothing until the sequel.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it's, like I said, it's a lot of fun.
I could see it being like working really well as an episodic TV show.
The Weekly Planet, those guys that I listened to, they did a Caravan of Garbage about it, about about the pilot episode of the TV show. And
okay.
I think they were saying one of the backlash, because it tried to be the same cast, but it was different actors.
Oh.
So it's like you kind of lose something there, because the four in the movie were charismatic and fun together, and then you have these other people, and you're like, right? And
they had great chemistry, those four. Yeah.
Yeah, like Woody Harrelson is just chewing it up and playing it up, but appropriately for a horror zombie comedy.
Yeah. The sequel, it felt like everybody involved was phoning it in.
Right. Well, it just seemed like too
late.
Luke
Wilson was in it.
Yeah, he's Woody Harrelson's brother, right?
No, he's his romantic rival.
Oh.
There was a pretty girl, and I can't remember who it was.
Sorry, I thought he was his brother. I think I saw like a clip from a snippet of the trailer, and they seemed to know each other, so I assumed they were brothers, but because they were both like redneck gun people or whatever, right?
Yeah, they were romantic rivals. Now I'm just going to look it up really quick because it's going to bother me. They had a boyfriend for the younger girl.
For Little Miss Sunshine?
Yeah, and it's mediocre. The Jesse Eisenberg and Emma Stone, and then because he wants to marry her.
Oh.
And then he gets a girlfriend, and she's actually the funniest part of it because she's kind of a ditzy blonde.
I was about to say she was blonde, right? Because I remember seeing a trailer, yeah.
Abigail Breslin was her name.
Breslin, sorry.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking wrestler because of Resident Evil.
Oh, Rosario Dawson is Woody Harrelson's love interest, but his romantic rival is Luke Wilson.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, because basically there's like another version of Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg.
Right.
And then they die. Spoilers!
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it was just there was too big of a gap, and they just weren't sure what to do, and
it was. It's just in that I don't know. Like the first 45 minutes of the movie, I was very bored.
It's not what you want.
No.
That's why I recommend the original, the first one.
All right. Well, a movie that the original and the sequel are great is The Babysitter.
Excellent.
So The Babysitter one is about a kid who's getting babysat, and it turns out that his babysitter is part of a satanic cult who has to make sacrifices to Satan, and she needs his blood.
I mean, it's an everyday situation.
Yeah, shenanigans happen.
Yeah.
And he wins. And she dies.
Right.
The second movie, we have a longer talk about it in another episode if you want to go look that up. Or just go watch it.
Yeah, we spoke about it last year, right?
Yeah. So The Babysitter 2. So these are both McG movies, which means that they're McAwesome. Because I'm pretty sure McG is my favorite director now. But The Babysitter 2 is the kid has grown up a bit. He's a teenager now. He's picked on at school. He's a weird kid. His childhood friend convinces him to come on a weekend camping trip because he finds out that his parents are going to send him to a facility because nobody believes him about what happened in the first movie.
Wait, what? Wasn't there like bodies and all sorts of evidence?
No, all the bodies were gone by the time the police got there.
Oh, okay.
So he goes with her, and they go on a boat, and then it turns out that she is part of the satanic cult as well.
The same one?
Yeah. And all of the cast that died in the original movie are back for one night only.
Oh.
Because Satan, and they have to kill him to complete the ritual.
Okay.
So it's great because all of those characters are great. There's like perpetually shirtless guy,
yeah,
cheerleader, right? Like it's great. They all die in spectacular ways. And a second time. And nice. I don't want to give away any more because the ending is actually pretty great.
Cool.
Yeah. But I highly recommend it. It's the right level, again, of like heart, comedy, and interesting deaths.
And interesting kills, yeah. And those are both on Netflix, right?
Those are both on Netflix. And also, it has like the right amount of like weirdness. Like the weird factor is perfect.
Cool.
Yeah. You really should watch some of them, and I think you'd enjoy them.
Yeah, the only reason I haven't yet is because I knew you wanted to talk about it on the show, so I was waiting.
We should do a commentary track for the first one.
Yeah, it's totally an option we could do.
That would be super fun. What's your next movie?
Let's see. We're just continuing down the list here. We got, I'll just go quickly through this one. This is kind of an old school one. Death Becomes Her. Did you ever see that?
Oh my God, I have it on DVD.
There you go. You have seen it. Yeah, it cropped up on a list, like I said, when I was looking. And I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of a creepy movie about two women killing each other constantly.
With Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Where they're like fighting over Bruce Willis. He's just kind of a doofus in it. Yeah,
he's like schlubby doctor guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn, yeah.
And then Goldie Hawn, lost to Meryl Streep, and then she comes back looking super hot, and she's like, oh my God, what's going on? And then it turns out she took some kind of immortality serum. So
From Isabella Rossellini.
Yeah, so Meryl Streep does the same thing, and then turns out they can still die / break their body, and they'll still live. And then comedy ensues.
It's so good.
Yeah,
the end of that movie is great too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of a weird, fun one, and it's like something you don't really see.
Yeah, it's a movie that like probably wouldn't get made now unless it was made directly for Netflix or Prime.
That's what I was about to say. It definitely has that feel of like this would not get a major theatrical release.
Oh, no.
I'm surprised they haven't targeted that for a remake.
Oh, they will.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
Probably, right?
Sure.
And they'll get Anne Hathaway and Margot Robbie.
There you go.
Yep, we figured it out. We've cracked the code, Hollywood. And Adam Driver. No,
Sure.
It wouldn't be him. It would be someone else, right? Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah. Carrying on. Are you ready for my next movie?
Yeah.
I only watched this recently, but I really enjoyed it. Cooties. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
So it stars Elijah Wood and Dwight from The Office.
Rainn Wilson, I think that's his name.
Yeah. Rainn Wilson. Yeah. And Elijah Wood is a substitute teacher at an elementary school during summer school. And he kind of like, he's back in his hometown. He used to live in New York. He's a failed writer. And he has a crush on one of the other teachers. You find out who is dating Rainn Wilson. And Rainn Wilson kind of plays like a macho guy, which is hilarious. He's
Sure.
like the macho gym teacher. But anyways, the kids in the school get infected by bad chicken nuggets, and they all become zombies. And the disease only affects people who haven't gone through puberty yet.
Oh, okay.
So only the kids are zombies.
Right.
And it's a hilarious zombie movie where they're running away from kids who are trying to eat them. And they're in the school, and yeah. I mean, it's not the best zombie movie I've ever seen, but I really enjoyed it. I do want to preface, though, that if you are vegan or vegetarian, or you don't like seeing animals being mistreated, you probably want to skip the opening credits.
Right. Yeah, because I assume it's showing how. Yes, I can picture it already in my mind.
Yeah. So like, fast forward through that bit. You'll be able to still pick up what's going on, but you'll want to start it when Elijah Wood is in his bedroom.
Right. And are they just trapped in the school the whole time, or do they get out and they're in the town or whatever?
They're mostly trapped in the school. They do get out at the end. There's some pretty fun kill scenes. They eat the principal. That's pretty great.
Classic. Yeah.
They set up stuff, like, as you're watching it, you know why things are going on, because you know that it'll come into play later. For example, when he gets to the school, the vice principal is like, oh, we're a no cell phone zone, so you can't have a phone if the kids don't have phones, so you have to leave it locked in my office here.
Sure.
Like that kind of thing where you're like, oh, that's why they can't call for help.
Yeah, they got to get those phones back.
Got to get those phones. Yeah, it's pretty great. I really, really liked it.
Cool. And was that on Netflix or Prime, sorry?
It's on Prime.
Prime?
I have a lot of zombie movies on my list.
Well, I mean, it's a good backdrop, like I was saying, for anything, right?
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah. For me, the next one here on the list that I found was Beetlejuice.
Oh, I recently rewatched that. That's such a good movie.
It is indeed such a good movie.
I love Michael Keaton. He's so great.
Yeah.
I think he's my favorite Batman, too.
He's a great Batman. Yeah, there's some actors when you see them, of course, and then you see them, in their past roles, like now, and you're just like, yeah, no wonder that guy had such a good career, or he should have had more of a career, or she vice versa, whatever. But you know what I mean, right? Where you're just like, this person's got it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Beetlejuice is great. It's, yeah, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis and Michael Keaton, of course, as mentioned, and Winona Ryder and
Catherine O'Hara again?
Catherine O'Hara is in there again. And I don't know the dad's name, but he was in like everything. He's Ferris Bueller's principal, right?
You know, it was funny when I was rewatching it. I'm like, you know, I used to identify with Lydia, the daughter.
Sure, who doesn't?
But now I think I identify with Delia, the mom.
He's like, I just want to do my weird art in New England or wherever they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, Beetlejuice, a classic, great stuff. Some horror, some comedy, some heart. You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, it's so good.
Great effects, I want to say, just because it's all puppetry and, you know, practical stuff, and it all works for that Tim Burton world, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
There's so many great, like, characters, too, that, like, just stick out. Like the receptionist that's the beauty queen with the slit wrists.
Yeah.
She's good. Like, I don't know. Everything is good about that.
Yeah, just very well crafted and an excellent movie for sure.
Yes. Okay, back to zombies.
Oh, really? Wow.
I like zombie movies.
Yeah.
Fido.
Oh, yeah, right.
Starring Trinity from The Matrix.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Carrie-Anne Moss?
Yeah, Carrie-Anne Moss. It's kind of set in, like, an alternate 50s. There's been a zombie outbreak, but it's under control now. And some people have, like, zombie pets or zombie servants.
Yeah, I never saw this movie.
Oh, what?
No.
Oh, Dad, it's so good. So the kid, they get a zombie.
Yeah.
And the kid ends up getting really, like, the family. Sorry, it's a family of three mom, dad, kid.
Yeah.
The kid ends up getting really attached to their zombie, which they name Fido. And the mom starts to get feelings for him because the dad's kind of a dick.
Oh, interesting.
And Fido is just very friendly.
Sure.
Yeah, and then kind of outbreaks start happening again. Like, some of the zombies get loose.
Right.
I guess, like, Fido kind of saves the family, not to give away too much. But it's just a very interesting, different take on it. I don't know, it kind of, like, it's a silly comedy, but it also kind of, you know, asks the question, what makes you human?
Sure.
I don't know, it was really good.
Nice. Yeah, I like I said, I never really got around to it.
I think it was filmed in BC, too.
It would not shock me.
Yes. No, it was. Or Carrie-Anne Moss's aunt came to the Cineplex when I was working there and was like, I'm Carrie-Anne Moss's aunt.
Nice.
And I'm going to go see Fido.
Well, yeah, because she's from, like, the Lower Mainland, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked it. I would recommend it. It's just a different take. It's not very scary at all. There's not a lot of gore in it or anything. But it's just an interesting, different view of zombies.
Yeah, and I remember that at the time, that it was like, oh, that sounds like an interesting, like, twist on the zombie thing. Because that was what was kind of going on. Like I was saying with Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead was, like, kind of the start of that, where it was like, hey, you can do different stuff with zombie stuff.
Yeah.
Talking about different stuff with kind of thing, I wanted to mention, of course, What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, that's on my list, too.
It's because it's amazing.
It's so good.
Yeah. Which we did do a commentary track on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun, and it's just a mockumentary about some zombies living in New Zealand.
Vampires.
Yeah, vampires, sorry. Yeah, and it's just different generational or different types of vampires that are just chilling in New Zealand and trying to live their vampire life.
It's very good. There's a TV show, too, that people really like.
Yeah, I've been meaning to try to get around to it because, that's been getting a lot of, like, positive reviews and buzz. So I highly recommend What We Do in the Shadows. I didn't see the follow-up, The Hunt for the Wilder People. I haven't seen that.
That's not part of the same story.
No, I don't think so. It was just kind of, I think it was in the same vein or same style where it's like a mockumentary about people trying to hunt for the wilder people.
With Taika with Tiki, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Waititi.
With Titi, sorry.
Yeah. Who's, of course, in it and directs it.
And is great.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So speaking of looking at things in a different way, I think I've talked about it before, but Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes. Yes, you have. And again, one of the ones I have to get to.
This is a great movie because it kind of takes that idea of like rednecks, like Deliverance kind of.
Yeah.
And flips it. Because it's just about these two brothers who have a cabin and are trying to make their cabin nice. And then this group of 4 obnoxious teenagers show up. They accidentally get killed.
Yeah, like the only clip I've seen of this movie, and it makes me laugh, is like Alan Tudyk with a chainsaw and he gets attacked by like a bee. And so he's running around. And I've only seen like a 5-second snippet of that, and I was like, that's hilarious.
There's another great scene where like a death has happened already, and so the kids decide to fight back. But like Dale and Tucker don't know that they're fighting back. They don't know what, they're just living their lives. And they're one of them is putting wood into a wood chipper. And a kid runs at him to attack him, but he bends down to pick up the next log, and the kid launches himself into the wood chipper.
Yeah, classic stuff.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, like I said, I've heard this movie's really good. I just haven't got around to it.
It also, again, it's a movie that seems like in the wrong hands, in the directors, like in the Marvin Brothers, for example, it would be like really stupid. Mm-hmm. But it has a lot of heart because it's done by someone more competent. Yeah,
and that's what we were talking about in the beginning. The horror comedy can be a weird line, but
yeah, it's very good. It has to have like that emotional core.
Yeah.
And then it's like the gags are just added.
Yeah, they're like the icing on top.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of this good one.
Okay, what's next on your list?
Well, just real quick, because I think you might mention this one afterwards, but Addams Family is kind of a classic family one, like you were saying.
Oh, that's not on my list at all.
No, but the next one is definitely probably on your list, or at least you've mentioned it. But yeah, Addams Family from the 90s was a lot of fun. I was not really a big fan of the show from back in the day, but of course I'm aware of it, and so I thought that was a good movie version. And, like you were saying, you said before, Morticia is where it's at.
Obviously.
Yeah. But I think Army of Darkness.
I did. The next thing on my list is the Evil Dead trilogy.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness is great. I prefer Evil Dead 2.
Yes, because that's the remake of Evil Dead 1, but taken to the next level.
Yeah, it depends who you ask. Sam Raimi says it's a remake, but
some people say it's a sequel, right?
Yeah, Bruce Campbell says it's a sequel.
Yeah. At least from my limited understanding, it seems like it's a remake to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I prefer Evil Dead 2 because it's very, very silly, but without being a comedy.
Yeah.
Ash kind of fights his hand.
Yes, which is great.
It's such a great scene in the kitchen.
Yeah. Because like Evil Dead 1 is a total like horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Evil Dead 2, like I said, takes it and then twists it. And then Army of Darkness is like, we're going full on action comedy zombie attack.
Yeah. It's, again, like, so many people like Army of Darkness, but it's a movie that wouldn't get a wide theatrical release now.
Yeah, or maybe it would be like, it would get a lot of buzz and then maybe over time, or, could maybe last longer in a theater, but it wouldn't get like here's the megaplex you're going to.
Oh, no, definitely not.
It would be released at like a Toronto International Film Festival, and people would be like, hey, that was a lot of fun. Maybe we should put it out in a real theater.
And then they would, and then it would flop because it got no advertising.
Yeah.
that it would end up on Netflix and end up doing really well on Netflix, and then but only one season because it flops.
Yeah, have you seen the TV show?
Oh my gosh, I've seen the first season.
Yeah.
And the first season is amazing. Lucy Lawless is in it. Bruce Campbell is in it. The whole cast is great. And I started to watch the second season, but I lost interest pretty quick.
Bummer.
Yeah, it happens.
Definitely.
I might have just been in the wrong frame of mind.
Sure. That totally happens as well. Because I was going to ask, like, how many seasons of that show happened? Or is it still happening?
I think it's 3 or 4. I think they did get canceled, though.
Oh, okay.
Or they decided not to do it or something. I don't know.
Sure.
This wasn't on my list, but speaking of Evil Dead, I think I would be remiss not to mention Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, I was thinking about whether or not to mention it. And again, I literally have a copy of this movie and I haven't watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is kind of like, it's definitely making fun of the horror genre, but still being a horror movie, like trying to have its cake and eat it too.
Yeah, but I hear it actually succeeds.
Yeah, I think it's pretty successful. Sigourney Weaver makes a cameo at the end.
Nice.
It's not like, when you watch it the first time, it's like, whoa, this is so cool. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like it has a lot of rewatch value.
Right.
Whereas everything else on my list I could watch again.
Sure.
But it's still good. I mean, it's interesting. They have like their big board of monsters.
Yeah.
Because sorry. If you're not familiar.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I've heard enough about it now.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Can I talk about it or?
Sure.
The premise is that there's like these old gods that you have to do these rituals for. Yeah. I'm not spoiling too much because this is kind of introduced in the opening credits.
Right.
And like the rituals they have to do are like horror movies. 4 archetypes have to be sacrificed every whatever amount of years.
Yeah.
They have a big board of different horror monsters that they pick from. Yeah, that's basically the premise. Except this time, everything goes wrong.
Oh, no.
But if you're a fan of horror movies, it's like the third act is just full of horror Easter eggs.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to say when you're talking about maybe not a lot of rewatchability is that like some movies, for example, I was thinking of like The Sixth Sense, where it's like, okay, now that you know the twist, it's kind of always interesting to watch it, like say again, see where all of the kind of the clues may or may not be. And then you're like, okay, cool. And then you don't have to watch it again. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like I could see that kind of thing, like where this, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like this was kind of going on. And then you could piece together like the meta layer in your head that goes along with it. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
no, yeah. Like I said, I thought
feel
about
like I could watch Shaun of the Dead once a year, every year.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, yeah, you'd watch Cabin in the Woods like triple time. I'm just saying, yeah, you could watch it again. And now that you understand, you're like, okay, cool. And then you just don't watch it again.
Yeah, basically.
But it definitely seems to be one of those ones that people are like, you should watch it at least once.
Yeah, I'd say you should watch it once.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth is in it.
Yeah, I know he is, yeah.
Worth it for him.
Fair enough, yeah.
What's next on your list?
Sure, well, and this was kind of interesting. There was, I think they just released I can't remember, like a 30-year kind of, I think it was 30 years or 20. Anyway, some kind of X number of years retrospective about Tremors.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever seen that full movie.
It's really fun. I really enjoy Tremors. It's one of those movies that, like you said, I've watched it a ton of times, and it's still always fun to watch.
That's cool. Kevin Bacon, right? Kevin
Bacon, Fred Ward, and Michael Gross. Reba McEntire's in there, the girl from Jurassic Park.
Laura Dern?
No, the little girl.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So it's a really good.
What year did Tremors come out?
Late 80s, I think I want to say.
Oh, I guess that makes sense because Jurassic Park came out in 93?
Yeah, mid-90s, like 93, 94, something like that.
It's weird because I feel like Tremors and Jurassic Park are like 20 years apart, but they're not.
Yeah, just like the effects and technology changed so much in that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like a monster movie about these people trapped in this little valley in Nevada, and they're getting attacked by underground worms, and they just gotta try to survive. And it's a lot of fun, good cast. Highly recommend. And I didn't know, listening to this retrospective when they were talking about it, it was cool. There was interviews with like the screenwriters and some of the actors, and Kevin Bacon himself. They were saying he came off of like the string of like flops, and he was like, oh man, my career's not going so well. So he's like, okay, got this script. They enjoyed making it, and it was also a flop, like in theaters. He's like, oh man, but then it's like over time it became like when it got released on VHS, it became like the highest selling / rented VHS for like years, and it became this classic. Because growing up for me, like I said, I watched it a ton when I was a kid, and I always thought it was like this horror classic. Nope, but it became that as time went on.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, highly recommend. I know that they've made like 6 or 7 of them now. I don't even know, but I've only ever watched the first 2.
Okay.
I think the sequel is kind of fun in its own way, but the first one is where it's at.
Cool. My next one on my list is kind of a cheat. Because it's a TV series, not a movie. But I would highly recommend season 1 of Scream Queens if you enjoy 80s slasher movies.
Yeah, and you've talked about that before on the show.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to bring it up again. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Emma Roberts. I can't remember her name, but Carrie Fisher's daughter's in it. It's about a sorority, and murders start happening around the university. And there's, like, the resolution is not super awesome, but it's a really fun ride.
Yeah.
And there's some cool deaths.
Yeah, no, you've mentioned it before, and because there's more seasons of it, right? So it was popular.
As far as I know, there's only 2 seasons. I tried to watch season 2, but I couldn't get into it because it was too weird for me.
Oh, interesting.
And I like weird. It was weird in a disjointed way, not weird in a McG way.
Fair enough.
What's next on your list, Dan?
Well, that was kind of it for my horror comedy section of the list.
Okay.
And then I got all sorts of other sections of the list. Unless you want to say, I mean, Rocky Horror and The Little Shop of Horrors kind of are like horror comedies. Sort of.
Yeah, I've seen Rocky Horror, but I've never seen Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah. Well, there's like 2 versions. There was like that super original one and like way back, and then I think there was a more modernish one with Rick Moranis, I think I want to say, and like Randy Quaid. Steve Martin, is that it?
Yeah, Steve Martin plays a dentist.
Yes.
I just know because I keep seeing clips from it.
Right, that's fair. I haven't seen it in a long time, but one thing I did kind of want to bring up was a movie kind of like Coraline.
Oh, Coraline's great.
It is great. And that whole kind of like claymation animation.
I guess Corpse Bride could fall under that too.
I have that written down. I have actually never seen Corpse Bride, but you have?
I've seen it twice, and the first time I saw it, I was disappointed because I was expecting Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
And the second time I saw it, I enjoyed it more because I had low expectations.
Fair enough. But yeah, Coraline was one that, again, I didn't see it in theater far later. It was on DVD. I think you and I watched it, and I was like, wow, that was really, really good.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just a little girl. She wants a better family. She gets it, but then the nightmare twist, and it's, artistry, and it's a Neil Gaiman story. So, it's weird. So very enjoyable though.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There's some great cosplay of it too.
Oh yeah.
When people do the big button eyes, sometimes
Yes.
they do it like where they glue buttons on their face, but some people do it with like face paint, but the way it's done, it looks so cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I guess Frankenweenie could fall under that too.
It is. So basically my little like animation section has got Frankenweenie, Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, 9, and Corpse Bride.
Oh, I forgot about 9. We saw it together in theaters, didn't we?
We did, and Frankenweenie.
And well, I knew Frankenweenie, but I forgot about 9.
Yeah, well, and it was, again, 9 was one of when you watch it, you're like, wow, that was really cool, good artistry and like characters, but nobody saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't think I've thought of it since we saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I think I've thought about it a couple times, but then I was like writing this list and I was like, oh yeah, 9, I remember that movie.
Yeah.
But anyway,
had that stop motion feel to it too.
Yes. But then out of everything that I just named there, like the 2 best ones are Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas, of course.
Of course. I thought you said Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie, Dan.
It is, but it's got Halloween elements, and
That's true.
Falls under that category, let's say. At least for me, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I think it's a Christmas movie.
Sure.
Or a Halloween movie. Both.
It's both. Well, and I think people watch it anytime.
Yeah.
Because it's great. Totally. You got more then?
No, let's go through the rest of your list, though.
Sure. I got, let's see. We got some classic stuff here. We got The Craft.
Oh, yeah.
Enough said right there.
Enough said, yep.
Yeah. 4 Witches, It All Goes Wrong.
Set in the 90s.
It's made in the 90s, and you know it is. The original Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I've only seen the show. I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's campy vampire stuff, right? And she's a
so I would
cheerleader.
Probably like it.
Yeah, maybe. It's got some really weird stuff in there as well. But the core idea, of course, where Buffy, ditzy cheerleader, is your vampire slayer, is pretty funny. And Donald Sutherland's trying to like train her and convince her of this.
Nice.
But who is it? It's like Luke Perry and what's the guy from Idiocracy? I forget his name now. Oh, it's Owen Wilson. No, it was Luke Wilson. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, he's in there too. Is it Luke Wilson? It's definitely Luke Perry anyway. And
there's some Lukes in it.
There's some Lukes in it from the 90s. But so like I said, there's some weird stuff in there, but then the core of her fighting the vampires is fun. You could go all the way back to The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
You haven't seen that? That was one of those classic, like, yeah, he's just spying on his neighbors and seeing weird stuff.
That's not. No, wait, I'm thinking of a different young Tom Hanks movie. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
I was like, there's Bachelor Party, which is
literally Bachelor Party.
Yeah, it's about a bachelor party, and it's not a Halloween movie at all.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is not really a Halloween movie, I don't think, but it's just like he's just this guy with too much time on his hands spying on his neighbors, and everything looks weird, right? And they're like digging in the backyard, and he's like, oh my God, right?
Is it kind of like a Rear Window situation?
Kind of, but he's just a guy on vacation and he just spends it at home, and then he starts seeing his neighbors doing weird stuff like in the middle of the night and, you know, picking through trash and digging in their backyard, and then it just kind of escalates that he thinks something's going on, right? Is
it all like an innocent explanation in the end?
In all honesty, I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a while.
Nice.
Because I was about to say that there is, but then I was like, maybe there isn't, and I don't remember. But I do, it is an enjoyable classic. This one, though, Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp.
Oh my gosh. You know, I love that movie, and I've talked about this before. It had the best teaser ever. And I was so hyped about this movie that I was like having dreams about it, waiting for it to come out. But I loved the as a kid, I loved the Disney animated Sleepy Hollow too.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like what I'll say about it is like I recognize it's not the best movie, but it's still a lot of fun and I enjoy it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a ton of fun, and I know it's not the best movie, but I still love it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I recognize like it's got its flaws, but it's a lot of fun. Good headless horseman action.
Yep.
There's some wonky CG here and there, but Christopher Walken looks cool, and you know, I enjoy it.
The romance between Christina Ricci and Johnny Depp is questionable, because that is a pretty big age gap.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But
what do
that's
they
to
call
our
that? A spring-winter romance?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was about to say it's pretty weird to our modern, not sensibilities, but modern logic. It's like, hey, don't do that.
Yep. Oh, what was I watching the other day? Oh, I was watching, Peter came over and we were watching, he wanted to watch Full House. So we were watching an episode of Full House, and it happened, this is not Halloween at all, but it's kind of related. But it was an episode where they had like boy band singer come to Stephanie's birthday party when she was like 7 or 8, and he kisses her on the mouth.
Ugh.
And it's meant as like, he's like, happy birthday, and then gives her a kiss, like not in a romantic way, but like in a little girl fantasy kind of way. But
Yeah.
it's super creepy when you watch it. Like, you're like, ew, that dude is like in his 20s and she's 7.
Yeah, no, that's off.
Stop kissing children.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, what else is on your list?
Let's see. The Witches.
Oh, the Angelica Houston one?
Yeah.
Oh, so good, so good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. They're doing a remake, or they did?
Yeah, they're doing one with Anne Hathaway.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, it's
But
not
anyway.
released yet, though.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, so it's like, it's not really like a horror, but it's definitely got some fun stuff there. The witches
It's
scene, of
got
course,
some
is great.
Spooky stuff for kids. Like the transformation from little boy to mouse is kind of body horror-ish.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. Like the scene where they reveal all their witches is really great.
Super creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess this last one I put on, which we've talked about before, was Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yes, and Queen of the Damned. Obviously, you can't talk about one without the other.
I almost wrote it down, but I was like, the other one's not as horror-ish.
I don't care. I just
Okay.
want to see what's his name, Townsend?
Yeah.
Stuart Townsend. I just want to see him walk around shirtless in leather pants.
Which he does.
Yes, he does.
But I mean, that movie is quite the classic as well, and well worth a watch, I think.
And we have a full episode on it if you want to go listen to that.
We do. Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about it, really. Kind of breezed through some of them, but yeah, that was some of the horror movies / horror comedies that aren't really horror-ish, I guess is the word.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like the classics like Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. I almost wrote that down because it shows up on like every list.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, so I wanted to talk about some that we hadn't talked about that much. I don't know, do you have anything else to add?
Like I said, when I was kind of compiling this and looking through some lists on the internet and stuff like that, I was surprised at how many I had seen and how many I was like, oh yeah, that is a great movie. Obviously, I think my list, nothing is too modern though, is my kind of problem with it. I was like, what? Like you were saying, The Babysitter was quite modern. And,
Oh, yeah.
but like for me, I was like, I haven't seen anything in that vein in a while, really.
Well, you should really watch The Babysitter because The Babysitter is great.
Sure.
I don't know. It's so good. It's just so good, Dad.
Yeah. Well, and I was kind of like, that's a detriment. Like, it's too bad. Maybe I should try to seek out more modern ones in these. But then so much of the horror turned to that cheaper Paranormal Activity, Conjuring stuff, where it was like, again, like I've said before, that I'm like, I like the horror when it's like The Shining and when the tension and the evil sticks with you. Like you think about it, not just like, I was spooked and it's over.
Yeah, I feel like if you want something that's going to stick with you, like Hereditary or
The new Suspiria.
What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones that you should seek out.
Yeah.
But if you like lots of blood and many different ways of killing people and fun, then you should watch The Babysitter.
Sure. Or something like you said, like the Tucker Dale versus Evil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I don't know, out of everything in my list here, I think my favorite one is What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, that is such a great movie.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is The Babysitter 1 and 2.
That's fair. That's fair.
They're so good. The kid is super likable, too.
Oh, that's good then.
And do you know who stars in them as the babysitter?
Yeah, it was wasn't it her Bella Thorne or something like that was her name?
No, that plays
Oh.
she plays the redheaded cheerleader.
Right.
But the actual blonde babysitter is the blonde daughter from Bill and Ted's Face the Music. You didn't see that.
I have not seen it yet. But I know who you're talking about.
She's also going to play Princess Diana in season 4 of The Crown.
Cool.
Yeah, she's a really good actress.
Nice.
She kind of looks a bit like Margot Robbie.
I guess that's not a bad thing.
No. But yeah, I guess we'll wrap up.
Sure.
If you like this, you should rate and review us on iTunes, download our back catalog, visit our website, tomeofuselessness.com, check out our social at Tome of Uselessness. I almost never post, and I'm sorry. You can also email us at tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. Yeah, we would love to hear from you, though. Like I was saying, we had a spike in downloads, and we think it's really cool. And if there's a movie that you think we should watch, then we would like to know what that is. But we do reserve the right not to watch stuff we don't want to.
I think that goes without saying.
Like, I don't want to watch anything that's super, like, gross.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't want to watch anything that'll scar me mentally.
Should definitely watch the first Saw.
Nice. And I hope you are having an excellent October or whatever time of year you're listening.
Have a good day.
Bye.